I'm Nikki Stanzione here with RSBN, and we are live in front of the incredible Trump National Golf Club here in Bedminster. And I'm very excited to say that in just about less than 30 minutes from now, we're going to be hearing from President Donald J. Trump himself, as we have an incredible presser here, everyone from every network ready to ask him questions because he is making himself available. Can't say the same for all candidates, but we're very happy to know that he's here to give us the answers we're looking for. And first, before we get started on anything, let me just tell you a little bit about some of our incredible sponsors. First, starting with the fact that in these crazy times, we need to have peace of mind, right? Peace of mind gives us security. Security is so important to us. It's security for our leaders, security for our country, security for our families. And if you think about this, if you put all your eggs into one basket, right, you're not financially secure. That's just the way it works. But gold and silver are an excellent way to be able to diversify your savings. And so they're a hedge against inflation. We know how important that is. And through my friends at Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. This is something that you can actually do today. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. You don't have to wait till next month. You don't have to wait till the election. Secure your family savings now by texting the word Trump. Easy to remember, right? Text the word Trump just to 9898, and that's all you have to do, 989898. You will receive a free info kit on gold, and in August only, on any purchase that you make, Birch Gold is giving away free Trump silver coins as well. This is a brand new one-of-a-kind silver coin that's going to feature Trump boldly raising his fist in the moments after the attempt on his life back on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania. Of course, you don't want to miss your chance to own this special piece of history. It's a celebration of a leader who is dedicated to our security. And what could be more important than that? It's preserved in security in a precious metal coin. So secure your savings today. You can do that just by getting your free Trump silver coins. Once again, just text Trump to 989898. So it's 98 three times. Easy to remember. Trump is the word. Make that happen. Now, of course, as always, amazing soundtrack from President Trump as we stand out here waiting for him to come on out and answer our questions. Lots of interesting issues, of course, going on right now. We heard from President Trump for 2 hours the other night with Elon Musk on his platform X. It was one of the most informative conversations I've heard. I actually felt like I was eavesdropping on a conversation I wasn't supposed to be listening to. I felt like I'm listening in on their phone call, and I'm learning so much about what brilliant minds say when they get together and they brainstorm and they talk about the issues that are facing us, from the crime, from the immigration issues to the border, of course, all of the inflation issues, the economy. We heard President Trump talk so much about the economy issues that we're facing right now in Asheville, North Carolina yesterday to a very enthusiastic audience. They were thrilled actually to be there, and he talked a lot about what's going on with our pricing. And you have to ask yourself the question he asked all of us, which is, very simply, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Are you better off under a Biden-Harris administration than you were under President Trump's administration? And putting all politics aside, putting all of the things that you've heard through narratives and all of the personality things that you talk about and all of these other little details that sometimes skew your view, if you will, if you can put aside what mainstream media has manipulated you into being told to believe versus what you actually live, that's a big difference, right? Because you live something versus what you're being told to believe. If you look at what you've lived, your life, did you feel safer? Did you feel more prosperous? Did you have more money in the bank, more money in the pocket? A lot of us did, right? And so, I was looking at some statistics earlier, and I wanted to share with you because I thought it was interesting. When you look at some of the statistics that are happening right now under Kamala Harris, I want you to think about this because this is important. This is not a personality. This is not identity politics. This is facts. Putting aside opinions, putting aside all of that, just thinking about facts, right? If you could just do that, I want you to consider this. 20.2% of your overall prices, 20.2% up in your overall prices right now from where you were under President Donald J. Trump. Your food prices, 21.6%. It's a big difference. That's why people are having such a hard time at the grocery store. That's why people are consolidating when they're going food shopping. Because they have to decide, well, Should I buy in bulk? Should I protect myself with coupons? Should I go to 5 different grocery stores because I can at least use coupons and save $5? Whatever it is that you can do to save, I do it. I know the way it feels. How about the fact that your rent is at least 22% up? 22% increase from where President Trump was. And last but not least, and this is a tough one, and he talked a lot about this yesterday with energy, it's electricity. You're looking at almost a 32% increase in the electricity. And I want you to think about that because, of course, if you've listened to the other platform, if you've listened to the policies, we haven't heard a lot about policy, obviously, since this campaign began a few weeks ago. But what you have probably heard is the fact that energy needs to be our choice. We need to be able to drill, baby, drill, as President Trump always says, to be able to use that liquid gold that's under our feet, but to be able to make choices for ourselves with our energy. And when you have a government-controlled energy, that can really make not only a dent in your lifestyle, right, but also a huge dent in your wallets and in your pocketbook. And it's something that we absolutely have to consider at large when we're making these decisions in November. And I also want to just share this with you because, you know, we have, like I said, we have several incredible sponsors at RSBN. If you want to watch us, by the way, on RSBN, let me just tell you this. You can, of course, watch us on our app. It's very simple. Just download the app. It's free. You can watch us that way. You can also go to the YouTube page. If you go to YouTube and you just go to the page, which is RSBN, you'll be able to go into the chat. Hello to everybody who's watching right now. So good to be here with all of you. You can do the same on Rumble. And, of course, you can also watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Android TV. We are available to all of you, and we want you to be able to enjoy. And we also want you to be able to follow us on all the social platforms. I'll tell you how you can follow me directly in a moment. But first, let's talk a little bit about the Wellness Company, because the Wellness Company is doing something really special. So, America, listen up. Okay, are you listening? The world is getting more unpredictable by the day. We all know that much. We've got assassination attempts. We've got rumors of civil war. We have an unstable stock market. We've heard that enough. And now there's even a looming threat of the bird flu. Yes, it's happening. It's on everybody's mind. Did you know that there's actually a bird flu summit coming in October? Did you know this? It's interesting. It's eerily reminiscent of Event 201 that actually foreshadowed the COVID pandemic. And so get this, the first topic on the agenda is mass fatality management planning. That's just, that in itself is going to send chills down your spine just hearing those words. But here's the good news. You don't have to be scared, okay? If you're prepared. The Wellness Company created the Contagion Emergency Kit. And this is something that should be in every home. If you have at least one of these, you're going to be so happy because they're packed with life-saving methods, medicines like ivermectin, I can never say it, hydroxychloroquine. I haven't said it in a couple of years. Hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics like a Z-Pack, and of course it's all backed by experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. So imagine this, no more frantic searches for doctors, no more emergency waiting rooms, just a few clicks. And that's it. The kit is delivered right to your front door. In times like these, having your Contagion Emergency Kit is not just a luxury, but it's actually a necessity. So protect your family, be prepared now, and then all you have to do is go to twc.health/RSBN and grab your Contagion Emergency Kit right now. It's that easy. Again, that's twc.health/RSBN. Use the code RSBN as well to save you $45 at checkout. And these kits are only going to be available in the USA. So you will want to make sure you take advantage of that as well. Another beautiful day in summer here in New Jersey. It's a hot one, of course. I think Donald Trump brings the heat every time, wherever he goes. And we're having a really interesting week. Of course, in the news, you know that the DNC is going to begin next week, where we're going to see some interesting things. Today, President Trump put out a tweet talking about that the Monday speakers is what he called the Death Valley. And he said that we'll be seeing President Biden actually speaking on Monday. And of course, let's not twist that. Let's not manipulate those words. He wasn't saying it as any kind of a threat. There was nothing violent about it. It's just a terminology in television that he was using about being on air on the first night. That being said, it'll be interesting to hear what's being said. Of course, we are not hearing much on policy. We're not seeing a news conference. We're not seeing any press conferences. We're not seeing any actual interviews. The only interview, from what I understand today, that Kamala Harris has given is with Tim Walz. So he actually interviewed her and she interviewed him. That's not what we're looking for, though. We're looking for somebody who's going to give us the answers that Americans are looking for. So rather than focus on her, I want to focus on what President Trump will do. I want to focus on his plan, his agenda. Because when you think about what you want in your country, when you think about what you want to see in the country that your family grows up in, that your children, that your grandchildren will grow old in, you want safety. You want to see crime eliminated. You want to see the borders closed. Now, remember something, and President Trump says this very regularly. He says it pretty much every time he speaks about it. We want immigration. We want immigrants in our country, of course. That's what America is. It's a melting pot of beautiful people from everywhere with different hearts and different backgrounds and different cultures and races, ethnicities, etc., genders, all of it. We want to see everybody. But you have to do it legally. If you don't, then we become a lawless society and we no longer are a country. If we are a country without borders, we are no country. And no other country is allowing what America is currently allowing. We have to be able to vet the people coming into America. And my heart, to be honest, goes out to so many of the incredible immigrants who have come here legally in our country. They're a group of people that I speak with most often, and they seem to be the most offended by the fact that the border's been open, because they say they came in the way that they were supposed to come in by law, and by doing so, they had to go through a very significant process to be able to become an American citizen and to be able to vote for leaders in this country. And so, to that point, we want to start to see fair elections, and we want to see IDs presented when you go to vote. It should be, it shouldn't even be a controversial subject, really, when you think about the controversy behind it, and yet it's a citizen's right to vote. So why would we want anybody? It's no different than going into a bar. You can't walk into a bar without an ID. You can't go to the airport and get your tickets or go through the security without your ID. It's a necessity. And so it should absolutely be a necessity when it comes to electing the leaders of this country. It's so important, friends. It's so important. Also really important is election interference. We don't want to see election interference. We want to be able to see our country being fair. We want to see justice. And we saw a lot of weaponization of government to that point. I understand that just today, I haven't been able to check and see if anything has come of this, but I know that President Trump's team, his legal team, has requested that we have the sentencing from Judge Juan Merchan pushed back past September 18th so we could pass the election, because it really is a form of election interference if this is done beforehand. I know that, unfortunately, as you may have seen in President Trump's recent tweets, and on Truth as well, you've noticed that the gag order is still in effect. And really, how in the world can you make fair and informed decisions on your government leaders when they're being gagged from speaking their truth, right? That's something that we don't allow in America. That's something we don't want to allow in America, but it's happening, and we have to change that. And I know that is at the top of President Trump's agenda, and I'm going to ask him about election interference today if I get a chance to speak with him. I want everybody who's watching right now to really, again, put aside your biases. I'm trying to do the same. I listen to what everybody says. I listen to everything, and I make fair decisions and fair opinions that are based on what I'm watching, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I see in the life I live, not the life I'm told to believe that I'm living. That is the key, I think, for everybody to think about. There's one aspect of politics where people are constantly telling you, here's what's happening, here's what you need to believe, here's how it is, here's how it is. And then there's the life you're living. Two completely separate things. And when you think about the life you're living, that's where I implore you to really take note of the ideas and the policies that President Trump's campaign is targeting and what he's already done. This is another thing I want to talk about for just a brief moment, is that for 4 years, President Trump was our president. And so for those who are saying, well, if he's the president, it's going to be a dictatorship. If he's the president, look what will happen to my life. Look what happened to your life 4 years ago? Did you still live your life the way you're living it now? Did you still have all the freedoms you have now? Probably. right? Now, I want you and I implore you to pay attention to all of the topics, including the abortion topic, because it's very important that you recognize this is not a federal national ban. And I keep hearing that over and over. Oh, he's trying to ban women's rights. He's trying to take away women's rights. Not at all. First of all, women's rights include sports, women who spend their whole lives training in sports. He wants women to go against women in sports. He's not saying you don't have a right to love who you want to love, to be who you want to be. It's all fine. It's all fine and it's all fair. However, men have a different physical makeup, and it's not safe for them. You saw what happened at the Olympics with the boxing. It's not safe for a woman to be in a boxing ring with even if he transitioned. It's a physiological issue. So he wants to take men out of women's sports. That's women's rights in itself. And of course, the abortion topic, we'll go more into that when we have an opportunity. But I want you to consider that it's being put back to the states to vote. So it can go and become a state decision, not a federal ban on anything. So let's just get that very clear. I want to make sure everybody's very clear on that, because it's very easy to speculate and make comments. I also, excuse us. I also want to tell you a little bit about the best-selling kids guide to President Trump. It's available free to all of our viewers. All you have to do is pay shipping and handling with this special promotion. The guide has been updated for 2024, and it explains President Trump's vision for the future of America to the kids out there who need to learn. It includes his policies on immigration, and it's not surprising to learn that crime and drugs are getting worse, and America is under siege, as we know, by illegal immigrants. So I want you to recognize that as a result of this, more and more Americans are agreeing with President Trump's policies. And as future voters, our kids are going to want to learn a little bit about their president. They want to learn more about what he represents and who he is. And again, not just what mainstream media tells him. It's very, very simple to get it. All you have to do is go to freetrumpbook.com, freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com. So I implore you to get a handle on that too. It's a great way to teach the kids. Another topic, speaking of that, is about banning anything for kids. When you hear people saying, President Trump wants to ban books, let's be really clear what he wants to ban. No matter what your sexual preference, no matter what your gender, no matter what your background, no matter what your ethnicity, there are certain things that are just not appropriate for little kids. And he really wants to, once again, bring back the idea of certain things just not being visible to little children before they're ready to learn those things. And so there are certain books that are absolutely inappropriate that shouldn't be available to them. And that's one of the issues I also want to just kind of clarify, because I think there's a lot of muddiness. And I have friends on every side of the aisle. I have friends of all backgrounds, and I have friends who absolutely live for President Trump and friends who don't. And I will tell you that you have to just be able to make an informed decision, but you can't do that without being educated on both sides. It's very important to understand the actual policies. We need to hear from the other side what their policies actually are. Now, I remember reporting on the no tax on tips agenda that President Trump brought up after he was in Nevada and had a conversation with a waitress, and therefore decided that he wanted to, in turn, take away the tax for these incredible service workers who work so hard and rely on these minimum wages, but predominantly rely on their tips in order to be able to provide for themselves and their families. And so whether you are a waiter, a waitress, an Uber driver, a golf caddy, people in the service industry really do heavily rely on their tips. So President Trump brought this forth. He excited America with it. It became a huge agenda, a huge policy. So many people excited about it. And then all of a sudden, a few days ago, we hear on the other side that this is the only policy that was actually introduced and told to us as if it was new and enlightening. And so I really have to say, I think we should all be hoping for and welcoming some originality and creativity, but not flip-flopping. One thing I will say about President Donald J. Trump is no matter what you feel, no matter what you think, because I think people are voting a lot on their feelings right now. Whatever you feel, I want you to feel this and think about this. How do you feel in your life about your friends, your family members who tell you one thing one week and then in the next week they tell you another? Or they say, I'm not really good friends with this person. I don't like who they are. I don't like what they represent. And then a couple days later they say, that's my favorite person. Or they say, this is one of my values. I don't like, this is how I feel. This is a moral. This is an ethic. This is a value. And then when it's serving their personal gain, they change their view or their value. We don't have a lot of respect for that, no matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, right? So when a candidate is flip-flopping, literally flip-flopping on a day-to-day basis, is that somebody that you want representing you? Because this is not somebody that's just representing our country for our country, because of course that is the America First agenda, is to represent us first and foremost, like every leader does for their own country. But it's also something that impacts the world. As you can see, when President Trump was in office, we had no start to any world war. There were no wars started under this president. Under Biden and Harris, we have seen what's happened in Ukraine with Russia. We have seen what's happened in Israel, and we see what's going on, and the unrest in the Middle East. And not just in the Middle East, but actually here in America. I think many of you probably saw the footage from New York yesterday taking place where Kamala Harris was speaking. And when you see that kind of unrest and that kind of violence and that kind of threatening behavior, threatening America, it's very scary, and it's not something that should be tolerated, right? So I want you to put aside all of the bias. I want you to just think for yourself about the things that matter to you and your family. And I want you to look at these policies and think, I want somebody who's consistent, because consistency is so important. And I think we think that about all the people in our lives. So it's not just in politics. But that's because President Trump is not just a politician. He's a businessman. He's a family man. And so when he said something back in 1982, and you asked him about it today, chances are you'd hear almost the exact same answer. He's been consistent. He's been authentic. He's like he said, he's like, I tell it like it is. He said it yesterday. He tells it like it is. I want somebody who tells it like it is, stays consistent, is authentic, sticks to their agenda because they believe in it, is open to change and flexibility, but at the core remains steadfast in their principles and in their authenticity. And that's something that we have seen year after year. I was watching a clip on YouTube, I'm sure you can find it, and it was a montage of President Trump when he was on Oprah, when he was on David Letterman, when he was on Saturday Night Live, when he was being interviewed by various politicians in New York. And if you actually watched any of this, what you noticed is that his messaging has been consistent. It's the same messaging. Keep our country safe. Keep our country prosperous. Keep crime down. Put America first. These are all policy and agenda issues that have continued to carry him through his entire career, even before he was a politician. And as a politician, they helped us. And like it or not, this is a man who absolutely will fight for us to the death. And we saw that exhibited when he took a bullet for America on July 13th. I was there. I saw it myself. And I know how much it meant to President Trump that all the people, the hundreds, I mean, I will tell you, there were tens of thousands of people. I couldn't give you an exact number, but I would guess at least 50,000 at least, just from what I saw. I couldn't see the end of the crowd. And I can tell you, he's absolutely right when he says that nobody left. Nobody fled. Nobody spread out. Nobody stampeded. They stayed where they were. They dunked down, and they waited to make sure he was okay. And that, my friends, is what you want to see in a country. It's a love for their leaders. It's a love for each other, and it's a selflessness. And that was one of the most selfless acts I've seen from a group of people in America in a long time. And I also saw a selfless act from him, because instead of staying protected and staying hovered and staying huddled and cowering out, he chose to stand up with his fist in the air, say fight, 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 and let everybody know that they're going to be okay and that he's going to be okay. And that's the kind of man I want leading us in front of the world stage. I want you to think about all the people that are watching us on the world stage, and we cannot be manipulated by headlines that are altered or manipulated. We cannot, listen, we have to recognize that politics are still politics. Every now and then there will be embellishments in politics. There's a little drama. We know that that's just the nature of politics. But I still believe that if President Trump just wanted popularity and wanted you to all love him and agree with everything he said, he wouldn't take the hard way. He would take the easy way. He would cater to everybody. But instead, he takes the hard way. He says the things that are hard to say. He says the things that everybody might not always agree with, but it's best for our country. We don't even always know what's best for us, but he knows what's going on. he's got relationships not only in the country but around the world with the biggest world leaders. And we want somebody to represent us who has a relationship with those world leaders. As he always says, people will say, oh, is it a bad thing? Is it a bad thing that I'm friends with, Putin? He's not friends with him, but the expression "keep your friends close," keep your enemies close, keep your friends closer, keep your enemies closer. Excuse me, I can't even say it because you understand my point. I want you to think about that. If you have a good relationship with enemies, what does that do? That helps you. It doesn't hurt you more. It helps you more. You need respect. We need respect on the world stage. And when we are going through what we are going through right now in this world and the world war that we are potentially facing, we need somebody who knows how to lead. And that's exactly what we're going to get from President Trump. Now, in these crazy times, I said it before, there's peace of mind and security. We want security for our country. We want scrutiny for our leaders. Excuse me, we have a lot of scrutiny. We want security for our leaders. Sorry, people. Excuse us. We have a lot of people around us right now. I want you to think about this. If you have all your eggs in one basket, right, what happens? Then you're not financially secure. That's just a fact. So gold and silver are a really excellent way for you to be able to diversify your savings, and they're a hedge against inflation. So through my friends at Birch Gold Group, you can actually own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account, which is wonderful. It's one thing you can do today to secure your family's savings. Just text the word Trump to 989898, and you will receive a free info kit on gold. By the way, the soundtrack, fabulous as always here. I also want to tell you something else that's really interesting. In August only, on any purchase that you make, and August is almost over, so keep this in mind, Birch Gold is actually giving away free Trump silver coins. And this brand new one-of-a-kind silver coin is going to actually feature Trump boldly raising his fist in the air when he had that horrible attempt on his life, as we just talked about on July 13th. You don't want to miss your chance to own a special piece of history. It's wonderful as we celebrate our leaders with a special metal coin. I love it. Secure your savings today. Get your free Trump silver coins. You can just text 989898, and all you have to do is put the word Trump. Just text Trump to 989898. It's that simple. And secure. Really, it's goes back to what I'm talking about. It's all about job security. We need security in our country with our finances. We need security with our safety. And we really need to see a country where we're not afraid. We need to feel safe in our own country, and we will feel safe in this country under a new administration with President Trump once again, as he hopefully will become the 47th president. Listen, he always says, vote with your heart. I'm not telling you what to do. You vote for who you want, but be informed. I know personally here at Right Side Broadcast Network, we recognize and share the truth of President Trump, not the sound bites, not the little edited clips, not the narratives that a lot of people want you to believe that aren't always necessarily true. We want you to see the facts so that you can make an opinion for yourself, so that you can see the full news conference and hear everything he has to say, not just the quick bite that a network might just want you to see that they didn't like or it can be manipulated. We saw manipulation. I'm going to ask him about that. We saw manipulation in Google this week with stories and headlines from the Kamala Harris campaign. And that is not something that we can continue to see in order to make fair and educated opinions. We can't do it that way. It's not fair. We need justice back in this country. I always say, I may not agree with you. I may not have the same opinion as you, but at least be fair. At least be fair. And we need to see more of that here in America as we make our way into this election. We are, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, are we 82 days away, I believe, if I'm not wrong. 82 days. Think how fast that goes by. There's 30 days in a month. Okay, 82 days. That is less than 3 full months. I can't believe it. I genuinely cannot believe it. And I can't believe how much I love the soundtrack. I just want to start singing. It's so good. It's like that yacht rock music. I love it. Make a wish. Love will make it come true. It's honestly, to me, being in these environments with all of these people who have different thoughts, different opinions. I'm standing next to a lot of people who have different opinions. And I got to tell you, it doesn't matter. We all want the same thing. We all want peace and security. Now I'm just showing you guys a chance to see You can see exactly where President Trump is going to come on out. He's going to talk to us in just a moment, and we're going to have a chance for you to hear the press ask him questions. And guess what? He's actually going to answer them, because that's what he does. And that is absolutely what we need in a world leader, is somebody who answers our questions and tells the American people whatever they need to know. As you can see right now, this is the front of the Bedminster entrance, and you probably notice there's a whole lot of fun food, and it's all about the grocery prices. The food that we always had all our lives, that we always were able to buy and enjoy without having any kind of an issue. And now here we are looking at prices of bacon. Oh, President Trump loves to talk about bacon. I think he loves bacon. I love bacon too. And here in New Jersey, nothing better than a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich on a hard roll. Just saying. By the way, I don't know if you saw it today. It was very cute. President Trump was on Instagram stopping for a hot dog during his golf game here at Bedminster. Very cute. But you can see it. There's notices. There's information about what we're seeing in the rising costs, and it's actually no laughing matter. Obviously, bacon and sausage up 19.5%. Lunch meat up 23.2%. Eggs, ready for this? Almost 50%. 46.8% to be exact. Baby formula, something that's a necessity for babies. Baby formula is up 30.1%. Astounding. Now, remember when you used to go to school, and maybe you still do, maybe you have kids that are in elementary school. Remember when it used to be easy to just go get your school lunch and you had a couple dollars and that was it? Well, now they're up 65.5%, and the apple juice, 23.2%. General and baked products for bakeries like cookies and white bread, cereal, all of these things, you're looking at 27.3% just on cookies alone. Baking goods, 30.9% on butter and margarine. Flour, 37.5% up. It's unbelievable. Just unbelievable. And it's not going to get any better, guys. I wish I could say it would. But this is the reality, and I'll tell you, we need to see a change. All right, we see it looks like it's happening any moment now. Things are getting quieter. Secret Service is coming out. I'm hearing a little Michael McDonald on the radio. Yacht Rock enjoyment continues. I appreciate all of you watching us on RSBN. If you want to follow me, I hope you will. Go to Instagram or Truth. I'm at Nick Stanz, Nikstanz. Nick Stanz, Nikstanz. That's how you can find me on Instagram and on Truth. If you want to find me on Twitter, now known as X, I'm at Nikki Stanzione. Same on TikTok, Nikkistanzione. And I sure hope that you will come out and follow me and interact with me. I love to hear from all of you, and I love to share any information that I can with you as well. It's my pleasure to be able to cover for you and be here at RSBN, bringing information that a lot of the other networks are not bringing to the public. And I love interacting with all of you on the YouTube chat, on the RSBN page. It's so much fun to hear all of your wise words and your enthusiastic feelings and opinions. Thank you all for that. It means a lot to all of us to have your support. And we are just moments away, just a few moments left before President Trump makes his way onto the stage, if you will, the stage. Okay, and here I believe we're getting much closer, obviously. It's getting ready to come on out. Just moments away. You can see all the food. And you know, how many of you could actually go to the supermarket and go buy all these packages of bread and all these packages of condiments and cookies and baked goods and soup and apple juice. You used to be able to buy things in bulk, and it wasn't so hard. But nowadays, it's a whole different world that we're living in. It sure is, and we got to make a change.
Right now, I'm just getting half of the podium. Yeah, that'll help me a lot. Thank you.
I hope that everyone who's watching right now is ready to hear some answers. You know, I want to remind everybody about yesterday. You know, President Trump highlighted how Kamala Harris broke our economy. And the speech was following inflation data, which showed us the gas prices up 50% since she took office. Credit card debt, of course, ballooning in this economy as well. She's claimed it works. But how many of you are suffering with credit card debt right now? Do you feel richer now than you did before when Donald Trump was your president? I want you to really consider that and think about how he's going to target everything from car affordability to housing affordability to insurance costs. He talked about it yesterday. He's also going to deal with the price of prescription drugs. He's also instructed his cabinet that he expects results within the first 100 days or much sooner than that. We just got a 3-minute warning, everybody, 3-minute warning of President Trump's arrival. So in 3 minutes, he will be coming out. Also reminding you that yesterday, some of the other things that we heard from President Trump was that the radical liberal policies have caused not only horrific inflation, but decimated the middle class, gutted finances of millions and millions of American families. You know, we don't want to have to pay the price anymore.
When he comes out, you're going to move.
Of course. I also want to remind everybody about a few other things which are really important to keep on target with, which is what you're paying at the gas pump. Remember when it was $1.87, back when it was $1.87 to get gas. Things were very different back then, and it would be nice to get back there, wouldn't it? All right, we are about to go. I am going to have to move in just a moment, guys, just to let everybody know. We are just about a 2-minute warning. But I will tell you before we go any further, I just want to remind everybody once again about Birch Gold. Make sure that you are texting Trump to 989898. Make sure that you take advantage of the new free Trump silver coins. These brand new one-of-a-kind silver coins feature President Trump raising his fist. You don't want to miss your chance to own a special piece of history. It's a celebration of a leader dedicated to our security and in precious metal coins. You can secure your savings today to get your free Trump silver coins. It's only happening in August for those free silver coins. And of course, remember, you want to get in touch with our friends at Birch Gold Group so that you can own physical gold. Just text Trump to 989898. It's that simple. And I hope that you take advantage of that opportunity, because here at RSBN, we try to give you as many opportunities as possible. And we hope that you'll have that chance to take advantage of our amazing sponsors and the information that we offer to all of you. It's wonderful. This is a lovely day. Just as the song says, it's a lovely day, beautiful day here in New Jersey at Bedminster. And we are thrilled to be able to be a part of this moment in history as we continue to see press conferences and moments from our president. When I think about what's happening in our world right now and how hard it is to afford gas, food, energy, homes, I don't want it anymore. I know a lot of you feel the same way, and it's got to change, and it's got to change sooner than later. And under a President Trump administration, it absolutely will, and it absolutely can. And here we go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Nice to see you. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about, and we have some very specific things. So we'll take our time. We have plenty of time. I think you have plenty of time. I hope you like the weather. It's very nice. Nice place. Nice location. And I do thank you for being here. And we don't have very much heat. So I'd say it's perfect weather for this. Where the rain is not imminent based on the fact that there are no clouds. So it's really nice. It's really nice. And let's go over some big facts and some very substantial truths about where we stand as a country, because we're a failing nation because of the way it's been run for the last 3.5 years. We're a failing nation. People are coming into our country by the millions and millions and millions. We have no idea who they are or where they come from. But we're also a failing economy. Kamala Harris is a radical California liberal who broke the economy, broke the border, and broke the world, frankly. Very destructive to the entire world, because as we go, oftentimes the world goes. She destroys everything she touches, and if she wins, your finances and your country will never recover. You're never going to recover. A radical left person wants to put price controls all over the place, which will end up driving up your prices, not down your prices. Harris has just declared that tackling inflation will be a day one priority for her. It's going to be day one. But day one, really, for Kamala was 3.5 years ago. Where has she been? And why hasn't she done it? Why hasn't she done it? I hear her complaining all the time. She was the border czar, but she didn't do anything. It's the worst border czar in history. There's never been a border czar so bad. She's been unbelievable in terms of her badness to some of our allies, some of our great allies. You know who I'm talking about. Here is the record of economic calamity that Kamala is desperate for voters to ignore. She cast the tie-breaking votes that caused record inflation. She cast the votes. She's trying to blame Biden, as you know. So it was Biden, but I'm going to do a better job. But it was her. And if she wants to do a better job, she's still got 5 months left, right? But she can't do a better job because she doesn't know how to. And she's of a place in life where she wouldn't know what a better job is. Going to destroy our country. And as a result of Kamala's inflation price hikes, they've cost a typical household a total of $28,000. These are numbers coming from government. They're not coming from me. $28,000 she's cost a typical household. Kamala's inflation nightmare continues to cost the average American family $1,100 every single month. $1,100. Again, government numbers. You're paying $148 more a month on food. That's every month. Average family. Because Kamala and her ideas, and Joe Biden too, I mention him, but he's sort of gonzo. It all started with the debate. I should have been a little bit easier. Somebody said, your debate performance was horrible. I said, why? Because you forced him out of government. But I believe she'll be just as bad. I believe she's maybe in many ways going to be worse, because he wasn't really a radical left, but she is. She's real. He wasn't real. So I think she's going to be, in many ways, easier to beat than Joe Biden. What they did to him was disgraceful, by the way, and it really is a threat to democracy. It was a coup by people that wanted him out, and they didn't do not the way they're supposed to do it. $129 more on energy and $241 more. This is all per month on rent. So you have that, $148, $129, $241, and then many other increases. You add it all up, it's thousands and thousands of dollars that she and he have cost people. The cost of a typical monthly mortgage has doubled since I left office, and that number was about 3 months old from government, and now it's tripled. We had mortgage rates at around 2%, close to 2%, and they're now at 10%, and you can't get a mortgage. So that means it's a lot higher than 10%. I guess it is whenever they want to give over the money, and that's a lot more than 10%. So when you think about double, they've actually quadrupled or more than that. Think of that, quadrupled, which really kills the American dream for young people. Young people are being devastated by what they've done to our country. Grocery prices have skyrocketed. Cereals are up 26%. Bread is up 24%. Butter is up 37%. Baby formula is up 30%, flour is up 38%, and eggs are up 46%, and many items are up at much higher rates than that. Now Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls. She wants price controls. And if they worked, I'd go along with it too, but they don't work. They actually have the exact opposite impact and effect. But it leads to food shortages, rationing, hunger, dramatically more inflation. Their Inflation Reduction Act, by the way, was a disaster. It's what caused the inflation. Their Inflation Reduction Act was a con job. They actually admitted that it wasn't really for inflation that they did it. They don't know why they did it, but they named it the Inflation Reduction Act, which was a very nice name. Got approved based on that. Unfortunately, people didn't understand it. I understood it. I said that's going to cause tremendous inflation, and it did, among other things like energy. She's running on the Maduro plan. We call it the Maduro plan, like something straight out of Venezuela or the Soviet Union. This announcement is an admission that her economic policies have totally failed and caused really a catastrophe for our country, and beyond that, a catastrophe in the world. A little bit unrelated, but not totally unrelated. We have wars breaking out in the Middle East. We have the horrible war going on with Ukraine and Russia. All these things would have never happened if I was president. Would have never, ever happened. And they didn't happen. Since Harris took office, car insurance is up 55%, and they just announced it's going to be substantially higher than that within the next week. They expect big increases in car insurance. It's out of control, and insurance generally. Thanks to Kamala's war on American energy, electricity prices are up 32%. Gasoline prices are up 50% and going higher. Meanwhile, real incomes are down by over $2,000 a year. So the incomes for people are down $2,000 on average a year, government numbers. The typical American has seen a 4% pay cut under Kamala and Biden. Crooked Joe Biden. Credit card debt has exploded by 50% under Harris to a record high. It's now at a record high. It's never been anywhere close. Since March, and by the way, people are going to have to start paying that, and it's not going to be a pretty sight for the next period of time. It could be a substantial time. Since March of 2022, the average middle-class household has lost $33,000 in wealth. How about that? $33,000. That's average. In July alone, 350,000 people were added to the unemployment rolls. It's a lot of people. 350,000 people added to the unemployment rolls. And think of that. That's in 1 month. That's in July. Virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. You know that? Most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%. It's a much higher number than that, but the government hasn't caught up with that yet. But virtually right now, as of the time they did this, virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. Harris gave work permits and Social Security numbers to more than 3 million illegal immigrants to steal jobs from Americans. So think of that. And, you know, they're having a lot of problems with Social Security. I'm going to be the one to save Social Security, but they're having a lot of problems with Social Security because under their system of putting all of these people into it, it's going to blow up and fail. If she's elected, Social Security will fail. It'll be a blow-up like you've never seen before. It'll be a bankruptcy of the entire system, probably the nation itself. You don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would be, because you're living through that nightmare right now, and it is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And you're going to stop inflation, but we're going to have a crash, and we're going to have a crash like a 1929 crash if she gets in. You saw a gentleman yesterday who got up, one of the top analysts in the world, frankly, and said that if Trump isn't elected, he predicts, and he's predicting you'll have a stock market crash like 1929. He also said the only time and the only reason the stock market has gone up, even though it had some bad moments recently, maybe because it looked like the race was going to be a little bit closer, but I think we'll take a substantial lead. You saw the polls come out today. We're leading in most of the polls, but you'll have a I have a lot of friends over there. That's nice. I don't think they're reporters, however, are they? This was supposed to be for reporters. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. When I left office, I handed Kamala and crooked Joe Biden a surging economy with no inflation. The 30-year mortgage rate was around 2%. Gasoline had reached $1.87 a gallon. We actually had many months where it was lower than that, but we hit 187, which was a perfect place, an absolutely beautiful number. Real income surged by more than $4,200 a year when I was president. Harris and Biden blew it all up. And if Kamala wins the election, the worst is yet to come. You'll have a real problem in the future because people don't respect her in the world. People don't respect her in the economy. Economists are laughing. They can't even believe this is happening to our country. And she wants to change a free enterprise type country into a communist type country. That's what she knows. She's considered far more radical than Bernie Sanders. That's all you have to know, far more radical. And she picked somebody that's far more radical than Bernie Sanders. He approved a bill recently, tampons in boys' bathrooms. He wants tampons in boys' bathrooms. It's terrible. It's terrible. But that's the person that she picked. Surprising pick to me. I was shocked. He's also got one of the worst run states. Many people are leaving the state, sixth most. And from her state, she destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed, as the Attorney General, she destroyed California along with Gavin Newsom. And she, San Francisco, you know, was a great city 15 years ago. Now it's considered almost unlivable. You can't live there. And what they've done to that great state with the beautiful weather like this weather, they have this weather all the time. And they have the ocean, they have the sun, they have everything good. But what they've done to it is a shame. And she's going to do the same thing to our country. It was the policies. They had a recent article, and I didn't know this, but you're allowed to rob a store as long as it's not more than $950. Has everyone ever heard of that? You can rob a store, and you have these thieves going into stores with calculators calculating how much it is. Because if it's less than $950, they can rob it and not get charged. That was her that did that. Harris is campaigning on the largest tax increase in American history, including ending the Trump tax cuts, one of the largest tax cuts ever in our country's history, and working with families, a gigantic capital gains tax hike they want, and a new wealth confiscation tax. It's called wealth confiscation tax, which isn't going to make all of her supporters, you know, she's got some supporters that are wealthy people because they're stupid people, but they're wealthy people. She said that a 70 to 80% tax rate is, quote, a bold idea that should be discussed and studied, 70 to 80%. She co-sponsored legislation to abolish very popular private health insurance, which 150 Americans rely on, dumping everyone onto inferior socialist government-run healthcare systems with rationing and deadly wait times while massively raising your taxes. She wants to take away your private health care. There are many people in this country who spend a lot of money on private health care. It's the best health care in the world, by the way. But they want to do it. They worked hard to make money, and they want to do it. Under her, you're not going to have private health care plans anymore. And you can be a wealthy person or a middle-income person, and you want to spend on a really good plan, better than a government plan could be, far better. And you're not going to be allowed. You're all going to be thrown into a communist system. It's a communist system. You're going to be thrown into a system where everybody gets health care. You wait for your doctor like 10 months, 12 months, 11 months. You got to see some of these plans, how they work in other countries. It's disgraceful. So private health care is gone. She wants it out. Now, she could change on that, and she might change on that. She's changed on everything, but I said, why are you changing? I actually was asking somebody that knows her, why is she changing? She had these policies and ideas for years and years and years and very solid on them. All you have to do is go back and look at your tapes, which many have been discarded because they don't want discarded by the fake news. because they don't want people to see what she said just a year ago and 2 years ago. I've never seen anything like it. Even my statement on waiters, waitresses, caddies, a lot of great people, people that drive cars, no tax on tips. All of a sudden, out of the blue, she comes out. That was months ago I said that. And she came out and she said, no tax on tips. She could have at least said, you know, President Trump had some great ideas, but one of the ideas was no tax on tips. I think it would have been nice, and people would have accepted that. But she just came out like it was hers, and she never had her. In fact, just the opposite. The IRS is all set up to really go after people that make tips. And they passed legislation and signed executive orders making it really hard on waiters, waitresses, and that was very recently. That was just before I made the proposal. They were really going after people. So they're lying when they say that, you know, this is what they want to do, because their legislation, which everyone knows, and their executive orders were extremely tough. They also put 88,000 new IRS agents in that can go and harass everybody. She wants to close dozens of existing power plants, causing rollbacks of power in our country. You're going to have brownouts, blackouts, the likes of which you've never seen, and plunging millions and millions of people into poverty. That's going to put them into poverty, and they're not going to have heat. They're not going to have air conditioning. She wants to close dozens of existing power plants, so maybe she'll change that too. But she's got a lot to change. Almost everything she's ever said, she's got to change. Nobody's ever seen, and that's why we're here. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. She wants to abolish coal, oil, and natural gas, 84% of U.S. energy supply. And it's the coal and the natural gas, clean coal, I call it, and oil, natural gas that create electricity. And by the way, I'm a big fan of electricity. If we're going to go with the AI, if we're going to do that, I don't know if you know, but we need twice the amount of electricity currently supplied for everything to the entire United States of America. So to be competitive on AI, I was talking to Elon Musk. We had a great discussion the other night. I agree. And he said a big problem is getting the approvals to create all of that energy, all of that electricity, specifically electricity. And you're going to need that for other forms of modern business, too. And I'll get it done, but other people aren't going to get it done. They're not going to be able to get it done. As border czar, and she was the border czar. She was, I don't know if she was proudly called border czar, but that's what Crooked Joe Biden called her. She's the border czar. Everybody said it. And then about 2 weeks ago, she didn't want to be called the border czar anymore. She said, oh, I was never the border czar. It doesn't matter. She was the person responsible for the border, and she never went there. She went to a certain location once, but I would have gone there and taken my family to dinner there. That was not a place that is going to the border, a place with no problem. As border czar, she allowed 20 million people, and I believe it's higher than that. People say 13, 14, 12, 10. But now they're all up to around 12, 13, 14. They have no idea, because you have millions and millions of what they call gotaways, the gotaways. Gotaways are people that pour into our country. We have no idea who they are. That's the worst of all. But she allowed at least 20 million people to invade our country, and she wants to give them all citizenship and free government health care and let them raid Medicare and Social Security, which will, again, she will destroy Medicare. She will destroy Social Security. And frankly, there's nothing she can do about it once this happens. There's nothing she can do about it. She called for abolishing ICE. These are great patriots who are tough, tougher than anybody in this audience. Some of those people, I know them over there. Some of those men and a couple of the women, to be honest, they're tough as hell, but they don't want to fight MS-13. I've seen it. They go in. Long Island has had a lot. We got them out. But now they're coming back because of weak policy. And because of things that she wants to do, like defund the police. You know she wants to defund the police. Now, she has since said, no, I don't want to do that anymore. The one thing I see with politicians, they always go back to where they were. She wanted to defund the police, and she wanted to abolish ICE. I was going to say, though, these ICE people are incredible patriots. They're tough as hell. And they go into a pack of MS-13 gang members, the toughest in the world, probably the toughest gangs in the world. They come from They come from different parts of South America, and they want to come in. And in Long Island, not too recently, but recently, they carved up with a knife 2 beautiful 16-year-old girls who were walking to school. And the reason they used a knife instead of shooting them was very simple, because it's more painful. They wanted to watch them agonize. And these are animals, and we have to get them out of our country, or we have to put them in jail because we don't want them back. Sometimes you have to put them in jail because their country doesn't want them back. They'll send them back the way they do. Just so you know, I know all of the people that we're dealing with as the heads of countries. And they're very smart. They're very streetwise. And what they're doing is they're taking all of their criminals, and they haven't brought all of them yet. They brought a lot of them, though. But they'll bring all of them. I'm shocked it's taken so long. If I were in their country, it would have gone a lot faster. I will tell you that. I would have gotten them out, too. And they're bringing them into the United States. They're taking their drug dealers and their rapists, murderers, and every criminal, bringing them into the United States. And their crime rates are way down. They're bringing people from mental institutions and insane asylums into the United States. And their population for the mentally ill is way down. They're in the United States. They're dumping them in the United States. They're driving them through a border that's totally open. We stopped them. We didn't let it happen. And when I first came into office, you know the story, that President Obama at the time had no way of getting them back. And I said, I want to get all of the MS-13 in particular out of our country, bring them back to where they came from. A general said, sir, that won't be possible. Why? Because they blocked the airports, they blocked the roads, they blocked everything. You can't do it. I said, so they're making a concerted effort? Yes, sir, they're making a concerted effort. We can't do it. They put planes on the runway so we can't land the planes, sir. And the same thing with the roads. They block up the roads. So if we have buses coming in, they block up the roads. They're totally blocked, and they're terrible. It's been that way for years, sir, all the way back to Bush. It's been that way for years. And I said, well, how much do we pay them in terms of economic development and aid? Sir, we pay them $750 million. I said, that's okay. Call them immediately and tell them we're not paying them anymore. And the following morning, I got a call from the 3 main culprits. Sir, I'd like to speak to you because I don't understand what the problem is. I said, well, you've sent us gang members, and they send them. Remember that. They send them. They said, you sent us gang members, you send us killers, and you send us drug dealers, and you send us horrible people, and when we want to bring them back to your country, you won't accept them. And that's under President Obama and all the way through. And therefore, you're in default. You are in total default of the money that we send you. And we're not going to send you the money anymore. You're not getting any of the $750 million and more. We're not giving you any. You are delinquent. You are delinquent in what you've done. And you're not getting, sir, please, can we talk? I said, yeah, we can talk. What? We would absolutely love to have MS-13 sent back to our country. We think they're wonderful people. They're not wonderful people. They're wonderful killers. But they changed their tune totally. When I said they weren't going to get the money, I don't know why these people don't do it. And the $750 million now is billions of dollars because Biden increased it very substantially. He thinks by sending them money, they're going to send fewer people into our country. How stupid is that? So they're giving them $2.5–3 billion. The 750, not only did he give it, I didn't even pay after they made the call because I said, you know, you've treated us badly for so many years. We're not going to pay you it anyway. But now they're giving them billions of dollars, billions, much more than when I took over. It was 750. Now they're giving them billions. But they said, there must be an understanding, sir. We would love to take them back. And I said, well, you're going to get them back. And we started bringing them back by the thousands out of Long Island, out of Michigan, out of Ohio, by the thousands. And she compared ICE agents, these brave people, to the KKK. She said, the ICE people, the ICE agents, I compare them to the KKK. Well, they don't really, because, you know, when you go into like Long Island, like Ohio, like Michigan, we had a lot of them. And you see these men, in most cases, men, the agents, get out of a van and walk into, they call it a pack. It's a pack, not like a political pack, slightly different, even nastier, even nastier. Hard to believe, right? But they would go into a pack of these killers, and all you do, I've seen it so many times, all you do is see fists and feet and hands and fighting. And 2 minutes later, they stand up and they walk out. They have them by the feet. They walk them out, or they drag them out, mostly drag them out, put them in paddy wagons, and they bring them back to their country. They take them back to the country, and the country is open arms now, open arms. And it's an amazing thing. For her to say KKK is very unfair, but she doesn't know. She doesn't want to know. She's a very strong communist lean. She wants to end detention of illegal alien migrants, releasing vicious monsters into our communities to rape, maim, and murder our population. She endorsed the funding the police and no cash bail nationwide. She was the original no funder. And the only thing Kamala Harris can deliver is horrific inflation, massive crime, and the death of the American dream. She is in favor of the death of the American dream because everything she does really stops. Any one of these items stops the American dream. We want our youth to go back and dream of being successful, someday being really successful and employing lots of people, and you can't get up early enough. I gave up that life for a life of politics. I gave up all of these beautiful places that I have all over the world for a life of being abused by the fake news media. And yet I would do it again. Somebody asked me the other day, would you do it again? I said, absolutely. Why would you do it? Why would you put yourself through? They go after you. They weaponize government. You have to deal with crooked judges that are after you and crooked prosecutors. And the New York court system is vicious and totally biased and, frankly, totally crooked. Why would you put yourself through? I said, because we're going to make America great again. That's what we're going to do. And it's very important. So when I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one. We will end Kamala's war on American energy, and we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. That's going to bring down prices of everything because energy brought it up. When they went away from my policy, they quickly went back to it, but by that time it was too late. They lost control. But they've gone back to it, and if they win the day after the victory, they'll stop with all the drilling. But they went back to it because prices were going through the roof. They were going really bad. And that's what caused our inflation, and that's what destroyed the lives of many Americans. We're going to reduce energy and electricity prices. I will, by at least half within a 12-month period. We'll be able to reduce prices between regulation and having a tremendous supply, which we have. I always say we have more liquid gold under our feet, more than any other nation anywhere in the world, including Saudi Arabia and including Russia. We're going to terminate the Green New Scam. It's called the Green New Deal. It's a scam. And rescind all unspent funds. We're going to rescind that and pay off debt. And we're going to reduce debt. We took almost $10 trillion for nonsense, for absolute nonsense. We'll do bridges. We'll do roads. We'll do things that we need. But we're not going to be spending it or wasting it stupidly and have China laugh at us. I remember when, just a short while ago, Kerry goes, hops in his private plane, flies to China to talk about the energy prices and the energy situation in China with President Xi, who I know very well. Had a very good relationship until COVID came in, but that was a fence too far. But we had a great relationship, and Kerry would go up there, and he'd leave so happy. But they don't do anything. They just talk. They said, oh, yeah, we're going to do that. Oh, as soon as we get to it. In the meantime, they're building a coal plant every week. But now I hear it's 2 coal plants a week. And we're dying for energy. We don't have energy. And they're getting set for the AI because they're going to create so much electricity. And we're not going to be able to do it. But you'll do it if I have it, because that's an emergency. We have to be able to compete with China and other countries that are able to create new energy if they want to, and they're going to want to, and they do want to. But they're building at least 1 coal plant a week. Germany, as you know, went a little bit like us, and that was the end of Angela because their whole economy crashed. And their new government is building coal plants all over the place. They're building brand new coal plants, nuclear plants, and other things because Germany was going to fail. So why are we following these countries that tried it and failed? And they're smart countries. They tried it, they failed. Why are we doing this? Why aren't we creating great energy plants, great sources of energy, instead of playing this game with wind that is ruining everything, killing all your birds, destroying the fields, all these gorgeous fields. You got windmills all over the place, and you have birds. You want to see a bird cemetery? Just go under a windmill. You see thousands of birds dead. The bald eagle, if you kill an eagle, they put you in jail for years. And yet these windmills knock them out like nothing. And nothing happens to the people. No, it's a green scam. It's a shame. Look, I'm all for clean energy. I want clean water. I want clean air. But you can't destroy your country over it. You just can't do that. We want to stop wasteful spending and big government special interest giveaways. You have giveaways. You have some of these people that are giving. Look, they're not giving millions and millions of dollars to politicians because they like their policy. They're giving it because they made deals. They're going to take over lots of different things in our country. They're going to build windmills as an example. They're going to build big solar fields that take up half the desert, massive solar fields. And I'm a big fan of solar, but it can't fire our plants. It's not going to fire our plants. Fire up those plants. We got to get them going. And the only thing that can do that is fossil fuel right now. And the only thing that can make electricity, which we all want, is right now fossil fuel and nuclear. And nuclear has its place, a very big place in our country, very big place. China is going with nuclear. France has been going with nuclear for many years. We want to end the Biden-Harris electrical vehicle mandate. We have to get rid of the electric vehicle mandate. And look, Elon endorsed me strongly, most powerful endorsement. He said it 3 or 4 times the other night during our little chat. But a chat that was very well listened to and attended. We know that, right? It broke every single record, I think, in history. And he's a great guy. But I told him, I said, you know, I have one problem. I'm all for the electric car, but it's a very small percentage. I think the electric car is incredible. I think what you've done is incredible. But people are going to want, some people are going to want gasoline-propelled cars. They're going to want hybrids. They're going to want other types of cars. And Elon, you know, they're going to have to do that. And he understands that fully. And I think he was amazed by this electric vehicle mandate. They want it for trucks, too. If you do it for trucks, you're not going to have any. You talk about a supply chain problem. A truck going from New York to Los Angeles, if it's electric, will have to stop 6 times for long periods of time. If you have diesel fuel, it goes all the way, and you can even come a piece of the way back before you have to reload. And with diesel, the truck gets lighter because you're using up the fuel. With the electric, it stays at a heavy weight. An electric truck is 2.5 times heavier than what we would call our traditional trucks. And a man from a company said to me, you know, sir, I've been buying trucks. For 50 years, I've been buying them, and every single year they got better and bigger and stronger and more powerful and more efficient, more fuel efficient. And now we build apartments in the truck, sir, and you would be proud to stay in those apartments. And then I say, I don't know if I would. But I know exactly what he meant, those big, he said, it's incredible, the trucks. I said, who builds the best truck? He didn't tell me. He said, they all do. You have 4 companies, 5 companies. They all do, sir. They build great ones. He said, but for 50 years, they got better. Every year, I started off with 1 truck. I said, how many trucks do you have now? 27,000. I said, 27,000, and all big ones. He's the biggest. This is the biggest. He said, for 50 years, I've been buying, and every single year, they got better, more efficient, stronger. He said, if they make us buy electric trucks, we will go back 70 years because the truck is worse than the one we had 50 years ago. And he said, I won't partake in it. They want people, they want the truckers, the trucking industry to do that. One other thing, the truck is heavier, and the battery is much larger than the tanks. And the battery would take up about half of the payload. Think of that. But just as importantly, the battery and all that goes into electric is much heavier. The truck it weighs 2.5 times more than a normal truck fired up by diesel. And he said, if that's the case, sir, you would have to rebuild every single bridge and road in America because the weight is so enormous. It wouldn't be able to go on the bridges and all of the different weight-bearing roads in America. I said, did you explain this to the people? I mean, you know, a 5-year-old child, if he was hearing these things, It doesn't go far. It takes too much room. You don't have any room left for anything. It's almost the whole thing would be carrying a battery. Does anybody explain this to these people? We do explain it. They know it very well. At the end of the meeting, they say, we don't care. Just start making your electric truck. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it, he said. So we're going to repeal all that. We're going to repeal Kamala's regulatory onslaught, saving households an estimated $5,000 a year at a minimum. The massive tax cuts and no tax on tips. We're going to make sure it gets done. She's not going to get it done. She didn't hear about it until I said it, and then she went out and she went and did it. And the other thing, no tax on Social Security. We're not going to have seniors who have been decimated by inflation pay tax on Social Security, and we'll get through it through growth. We have tremendous growth potential in this country, but not with these people running it, because all they're going to do is take away, and they want to take away your growth and your growth potential. Again, I say it all the time, we're a nation in decline. We're a failing nation. Right now, we're a failing nation, and we're going to soon be a great nation again. That's going to happen. Another thing we're going to do, having to do with a lot of reasons, a lot of things, and the economy in particular, we're going to seal the border. We're going to stop the invasion. We're going to send the illegal aliens back home. We're going to bring down the cost of health care and housing. We're going to make sure that Social Security is not going to be increased in terms of years, where people have to wait much longer. I mean, we have an obligation to take care of these people. And just so you know, I didn't do it in 4 years. I never even thought about doing it in 4 years. And they probably don't want to do it, but they're going to have no chance. They're going to have no choice, because a lot of the people that are coming in are being signed into Medicare. They're being signed into Social Security. And it's just going to explode, and it's going to happen very fast, and it's going to be very ugly. It's not going to happen with us. We're going to open up tracts of federal land for housing construction. We desperately need housing for people who can't afford what's going on now. And when we open it up and we take off some of the restrictions and regulations, you know, in California, 50% the cost of a house is regulations. They have to adhere to regulations that bring the cost of the house up by 50%. We're going to bring back our supply chains to stop costly supply chain disruptions. We have tremendous disruptions. I have it all the time, and I think you do too. We order things, and I keep saying, well, when's it getting here? Sir, there's a supply chain disruption. And, I mean, you end up getting stuff like 3 months late now. I don't know, all these geniuses over here, I think we can say that. I'm not sure that you're necessarily as much into it, but they are. And I will say that very often, we have problems with supply chains where I'm waiting for things for weeks and weeks. And I say, by the way, whatever happened to it? Supply chain, sir, it's not coming in. And it's a terrible thing. Nobody ever thought a thing like that would happen to our country. We're going to restore peace and stability all throughout the world. And you all know Viktor Orban. He's the Prime Minister of Hungary, and a very tough man. He's a good man, but he's a tough man. And they asked him, what do we need to stop all of the wars with Israel? What do we need to stop the wars in Russia and Ukraine and all the other wars that are starting? He said, when President Trump was here, we had no wars. We didn't have Russia lining up at the borders to go and attack Ukraine. We would have never had Hamas, because Hamas had no money, because Iran had no money. I said to China and everybody else, if you buy from Iran, you can't do business in the United States. And I'm not looking to be bad to Iran. We're going to be friendly, I hope, with Iran. Maybe, but maybe not. But we're going to be friendly, I hope. We're going to be friendly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And we were all set to make sure that they don't have a nuclear weapon, because once they do, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different negotiation. But Viktor Orban said, if you put Trump in, nothing's going to happen. Everyone's going to be peaceful, because they were afraid of Trump. Now, I don't like saying that I said that. I would say maybe they respected Trump. But he said they were afraid of Trump. They didn't know where he was coming from, and they were really afraid of him. They're not afraid of these people. And being afraid isn't so bad, but I would say more importantly, they respected me. But he didn't use that word. He said they were afraid of Trump. And we would have not had any problems with China and Taiwan. We wouldn't have had any problems with Ukraine and Russia. We wouldn't have any problems with anything. But we will stop inflation. We will make America affordable again. and we're going to bring back the American dream. We have all these young people that are coming out of schools, colleges, everything else, and they're not going to have the American dream. They don't even think about the American dream. Right now, they just think about survival. And I just want to end by saying we have tremendous potential in this country. We can do amazing things, and we can do them fast. We have to get the criminals out. We have to get them out immediately and fast and tough. We're going to rely on our local police. Our local police law enforcement has been so incredible. And they know. Somebody said, how will you get them out? How will you know? The local police know the name and serial number and middle name and last name and where they come from of every single bad guy that's come into our country. And we're going to rely on local police, and we're going to make sure that they have immunity from prosecution because, frankly, our police are treated horribly. They're not allowed to do their job. You know that better than anybody. They're not allowed to do their job. If they were allowed to do their job, we wouldn't have cities that have crime rates. You look at Chicago. On the 4th of July weekend in Chicago, think of this. 117 people were shot and 17 died. Afghanistan isn't anything like that. And speaking of Afghanistan, the single most embarrassing day in the history of our country. And yesterday I saw they gave $85 billion worth of brand new military equipment that I rebuilt the military. So this was equipment that to a large extent I bought, but brand new. And they had a parade yesterday, a beautiful parade. We were going to get out with dignity and strength. We were there for 21 years. And we were going to keep Bagram because it's 1 hour away. Bagram is this massive Air Force base that I visited. It's a massive base. And we were going to keep it because it's 1 hour, not because of Afghanistan, but because it's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. And they were showing it off yesterday, but the fact is that China now controls Bagram. China, can you imagine that? And we left. We were going to stay there. We were going to keep it. We were going to get out with dignity, strength. We were going to take our soldiers out last, not first. We took our soldiers out first. I dealt with Abdul, and he's still the leader. Strong man, smart man. But he understood that if he did anything, because we were losing a lot of people to the snipers, and under Obama, it was terrible. It was brutal. They'd be walking around and just get shot, and that was the end of them. Our people, and other people too, civilians. And I let him know that if you do that, we're going to hit you so hard like you've never been hit before. But why, he said, do you send me a picture of my home? Why? Why do you send me a picture of my home? I said, you'll have to figure that one out later. But I said, we're going to have to hit you people so hard like we've never hit anybody. And he understood. And he said, yes, Your Excellency, I understand. He called me Your Excellency. I wonder if he calls that to Biden. I doubt it, right? But he understood that, and he respected us. And for 18 months, not one American soldier was killed. Not one. And then I left because of an election where I got millions of more votes than we did in 2016. We got millions of more, from 10 to 12 million votes more. Think of that. No president has ever gone with that kind of an election uptick. Usually a president will get less. President Obama got less, much less, his second time, but he won. But he got much less. We got 10 to 12 million votes more, and that's not including other votes that we can talk about at another day. But this is their votes, 10 to 12 million more. And we left, and that's when all the problems started. We didn't have these problems. We would have never had a problem with Abdul. We would have never had a problem with anybody, frankly. And I'd have to say, you're looking at things behind me. They did a nice job. Wow, I haven't gotten to see. That's good. I don't like the tags very much. Look at that, up 46% eggs. Wow, up 65%. Wow, school lunch is up 65%. How can a family afford that? But look at this over here. What a nice job. I think I'm going to take some of them back to my cottage and have a lot of fun. Like the Cheerios. I haven't seen Cheerios in a long time. I'm going to take them back with me. Bacon is through the roof. They're all through the roof. The milk, everything is bad. And we're going to straighten it out. We're going to bring prices way down, and we'll get it done fast. And with her, it's just talk. She's a radical left San Francisco person who destroyed the place. And I don't know. It's hard to believe that she can even be in the discussion. They had a group of 12 people that she was considering, and they put her name in there, and they marked them, who were the best and who were the worst. And she was actually rated the worst of the 12. They had 12 plus her, 13 people, and they rated her the worst. Now, 6 weeks ago, she was considered to be a failed vice president and a failed administration, a disaster. And now all of these people are talking about her like she's Margaret Thatcher, liberal version. She's not smart. I don't believe she loves our country. And we cannot have our country destroyed, because once that happens, it'll never be able to come back. Okay? If you'd like, we can ask a few questions. Yeah, please. Yeah. The last time I saw him was at Mar-a-Lago, and he came with his wife and a large group of people. And we had a very good relationship with him and with Israel. Again, this would never have happened. October 7th would have never happened, would have never, ever happened. And he asked for the meeting. We had the meeting. It was about 2 hours, 2.5 hours long. And I expect I might be talking to him, but I haven't since then. No. No, I didn't encourage him. No, he knows what he's doing. I did encourage him to get this over with. You want to get it over with. It has to get over with fast. But have victory, get your victory, and get it over with. It has to stop. The killing has to stop. Yes, please, behind you. Thank you. So, I don't know if you heard the question. You've spoken about God saving your life. That I've spoken passionately about it. And something happened, because that was a miracle. I never looked that way. The audience was massive, and it was in front of me. I never have that particular graph. That was a graph on, as you all know now, that it's very, I think everyone knows it very well, but it showed the great numbers on illegal immigration. It was the lowest point we've ever had. And it was one that I use less than 20% of the time. It's always at the end of the speech, not at the beginning of the speech. And it's always on the left side, not the right side. And yet, for some reason, I called it. It's not on a teleprompter. I do things largely without a teleprompter, frankly, because it's hard to hold an audience if you're going to go for an hour and a half or 2 hours reading a script. And I just talked about it, and I moved to my right, turned sharply to my right, ping. And if I didn't do that, I'm not here with you. So, yeah, God has something to do with it. It's a miracle, and God had something to do with it. And maybe it's we want to save the world. This world is going down. This world is going down. So it could be. But I believe that. I believe that my sons are very good shooters. They're like scratch golfers, better, relatively speaking, with shooters, great shooters. And Eric and Don both told me from 130 yards. I said, well, that's pretty far away, isn't it? They said, no, that's like a 1-foot putt with, weapons like the one being used. Plus, he was a good shooter. This guy was a good shooter. He went to the range and shot a lot, and he was supposed to be a pretty good shooter. They said a bad shooter would hit the target almost 100% of the time. So something happened. And I have to say the Secret Service sniper did an amazing job. He had 5 seconds to find the target and hit the target, and he hit the target within, think of this, 5 seconds. And he was much further away because he was over here, and this other person was over there. So you have to give credit. And I have to also say about the Secret Service, when I was hit, I knew it because when I touched, there was blood pouring all over my hand. I said, I guess I know what that is. And I was going down for protection. And they were screaming, get down, get down. There was bullets. And those Secret Service guys were, and person, Kate, they were on top of me in a matter of, I think, 3 seconds. It was timed at. And bullets were coming out. I would hear the bullet. I didn't realize you could hear it, but now I know very well. Those bullets were going right over my head. They were there and very brave. There was nobody that said, I'm not going to be going there. They just, they were there very quickly, and they were very brave. There were mistakes made, obviously. He shouldn't have been up there. The roof should have been taken care of, and there were mistakes made. There's no question about it. But There was a lot of bravery also. We have to remember that. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Brian? Yeah, it reached a record. Credit card debt. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say my message to them, so he said, credit card debt is at the all-time high. It's never been like this. What's your message to America? How are we going to solve that, and what will they do? You know what I think they should do? They should, on November 5th or sooner, if it's early voting, which largely it is, which is ridiculous. We should have one-day voting, paper ballots. We should have voter ID, and we should have proof of citizenship, because people are voting and people are going on now without citizenship. But we should do it, and maybe we'll be able to get that done too. It's one of the things I want to do. But my message to them would be very simple: vote for Trump, and we're going to fix the problem. We're going to get it fixed. We'll get it fixed. Yes, Brian. Yeah. So she is saying when she gets in, she's in now, and especially with Biden, because, I mean, he's not in the best of shape. But you know what? She's in there now. She can do anything she wants. And she's still saying, if you elect me, I'll do this, I'll do... Why didn't she do it? Here's my one question. It's the easiest question, because she complains about everything. Why didn't she do it? That's all I ask. On day one, we're going to drill, baby, drill, and we're going to close the border, and we're going to let people come in, but they're going to come in legally. They're going to come into our country legally. But on day one, we're going to do many things. You know, I can do a lot of things at one time. But the questions often is, what's the first thing you're going to do? I would say we have a tie. We're going to close the border. We're going to stop the millions of people coming in, and we're going to take all of the criminals that have come in, and we know every one of them. I know. And the local police know better than anybody else. They're going to work with us. I've spoken to a lot of the sheriffs, every police, virtually every law enforcement group in America has endorsed Trump. I don't think anybody's endorsed Kamala. Not one. I don't think anybody's endorsed him. And you know that better than anybody. In Florida, all over California, they've endorsed me. We have the relationship I have with law enforcement. And these are great people, and people that we have to really cherish and respect and let them do their job and protect them. And you'll always have a bad apple in everything. You have bad apples as reporters. That I can tell you many. I'd say about 80%. But you're always going to have bad apples. But you have very, very few when you look at it. Very, very few. You have to let them do their job. You have to protect them. But basically, we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get the energy prices down almost immediately. And we're going to close the border. And we're going to get the crooked ones out, the bad ones out. And we're going to let a lot of people come in, because we need more people, especially with AI coming and all of the different things. And the farmers need, everybody needs. But we're going to make sure that they're not murderers, killers, drug dealers, and the kind of people that we have largely coming in right now. Okay? Yeah. No, I think it's a sign of we want to close it out. We have great people. Susie is fantastic, as you know, and Chris is fantastic. They're leading it. Corey Lewandowski's coming in. He'll be, personal envoy, or he'll be at some level. They're going to be, they're doing a great job. Look, we've taken, with all of the abuse we've taken from the fake news media, all of this horrific abuse we take. And all I want to do is make the country good. All I want to do is have strong borders and good education. We want to have choice for education. So important. So many different things. You would think it would be the other way. We rebuilt the military. We did so many great things. But that's the way it's been for Republicans, and I guess more so for me than anybody in history. And that's okay, because we're leading in the polls. For the most part, we're leading in the polls. We were leading Biden by a lot. We're leading now, but I think when she's exposed, I think we're going to beat her by a lot more than we would have beaten Biden by, because he had a little group of people that have been voting for him for a long time. She doesn't have that. People don't know who she is. As far as the personal attacks, I'm very angry at her because of what she's done to the country. I'm very angry at her that she'd weaponized the justice system against me and other people. Very angry at her. I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president. And I think it's very important that we win. And whether the personal attacks are good, bad, I mean, she certainly attacks me personally. She actually called me weird. He's weird. It was just a soundbite. And she called J.D. and I weird. He's not weird. He was a great student at Yale. He went to Ohio State, graduated in 2 years, at the top of his class, and all of these different things. And we have this guy that's running a very failed state, who's had a terrible career. I mean, you have him saying they're weird. No, he's a weird guy. And she's weird in her policy. Who wouldn't want to have strong borders? Who doesn't want to have lower taxes? You know, all my life I've watched as politicians campaigned, and I've always been on, for the most part, on the other side, on the side that these people are on. And they always talked about, we're going to reduce taxes. This is the only campaign I've ever heard where they're saying, we're going to increase your taxes. And then people say they're going to vote for him? I don't know. So I don't think so. I don't think people know who she is yet. Because really people didn't know. You can ask the man on the street. I saw it on one of the shows today. They asked the man on the street, what's the last name of Kamala? Nobody knew. It's Harris. Nobody knew the last name. I don't even use it because nobody knows who I'm talking about. People don't know who she is. She's a radical left socialist. But beyond that, I mean, she's way beyond socialism, who's going to destroy our country. And when they find out, I think you're going to see something. But right now, even not knowing her, and with all of like the cover of Time magazine, they didn't put a picture. They got a great artist to do it. What was that all about? What was that all about? The whole thing is crazy. I just want to win for the country. Some people say, oh, why don't you be nice? But they're not nice to me. They want to put me in prison, just so you understand. They tell me I should be nice. They want to put me in prison. It's never happened before in the history of our country. I did nothing wrong. I have crooked judges. I have crooked prosecutors. And they're all Democrats, all Democrat areas, other than in Florida, where you had a brilliant judge who ruled in my favor. I won the case, the documents case, won it in its entirety. And Jack Smith, deranged Jack Smith, suffered a defeat. But in New York City, everything's clubhouse, everything. I know it very well. I grew up there. I know it very well. And we have a very crooked system. And it's one of the reasons that New York is dying. Nobody wants to come in. No companies want to come in because the courtroom system is so corrupt, both at a federal level and at a state level and a city level. And they put you into an area where you have 3% Republican vote. It's all a rigged deal, just like Fani, F-A-N-I, Fani, with her boyfriend, and I think that's been discredited too. They've been discredited. But think of it. They don't want me to be a little bit nasty. They want to put me in prison. They want to put me. It's never happened before in the history of our country. It's happened in third world countries, but it's never happened here. And they're in danger because you create a precedent for doing that. And once that happens, that's a really bad thing. In the years before, and I've said this a few times, not too much, but with Hillary, she was subpoenaed by Congress to give everything she's got, and she burned it, she acid washed it, bleach bit they call it. She totally scrubbed it, and then they broke everything with hammers, with fire, they burned it, and then she said, I don't have anything. Well, it turned out that she had a lot to give. And everybody said, lock her up, lock her up. And I used to go easy, just easy, easy. Then we won. And I said, wouldn't it be terrible? And I lose. Some people are upset when I did this, but you have to look at it maybe differently now. I say, wouldn't it be terrible to put the wife of the president, former president of the United States, into a prison? Now think of that. Hillary Clinton, she was Secretary of State. She was the wife of a president of the United States who used to be a friend of mine before I ran for politics. He was a friend of mine. He used to play my golf course all the time. I have a great golf course right next to their home in Westchester. He used to be there all the time. It was his favorite course. But you know what? I could have done that very easily. She was so guilty. And I said to my people, wouldn't it be terrible to put, I don't know, wouldn't it be terrible to take, and we won the election, wouldn't it be terrible to take a former Secretary of State who was the wife of the President of the United States and put her into a prison? But that's what they want to do with me, and I did nothing wrong. It's all crooked politics and really crooked judges. You know I have a gag order. Do you know I can't even talk about it right now? Do you know that I have a judge who has a gag order? He doesn't want me to talk. And the reason he doesn't want me to talk is because what I say is so devastating and so horrible for him. But think of it. I have a gag order. There's never been a politician in history, I mean, probably for any politician for a city council office. I'm the leading candidate to be president. I won virtually unanimously, and I beat everybody. It was the quickest primary in history. There's never been one that was done so early. I had people that were very talented people, and I beat them by 45, 50, 60, 70, 80 points. There was never a close race. Nobody was even close. Good talent. They weren't close. And I'm running against the Democrats. So it's a two-party system, whether we like it or not. Republican, I'm the Republican, and I'm leading. But let's say I'm tied, but I'm leading. I believe I'm leading by a lot more than people think, and I believe we'll be leading by a lot more. And I have a judge who put a gag order on me. So when you ask me a question, or when you ask me a question, I can't give you an answer, because if I give the answer, they want to put you in jail. He said, we'll put him in jail if he talks beyond the gag order. And this is in a state where, unfortunately, the laws have been very bad, and they haven't been upheld by the appellate divisions generally. Although I have one case where we a certain judge, I won't use names, but the Attorney General case where we won 5 appeals on the same case, the most ever trial. It was a ridiculous, horrible decision where you have a very, very biased voting population and a judge whose hatred of Donald Trump was beyond belief. And we won the case, but he ruled a ridiculous amount of money, civil case, ruled ridiculous. Now, this is what they're doing is interference with an election. They want to interfere. Look at the one thing they want to sentence right before the election takes place. Let's sentence him, because who's going to vote for him if we sentence him? Let's sentence him right before. No, this is interference with a presidential election at a state level, and it's a state that always goes Democrat. It's interference, and as you know, the Supreme Court ruled recently on immunity, and I'm immune from all of the stuff that they charged me with. But isn't it a terrible thing? And yet Hillary Clinton, when it came time to make a decision, I said, I don't want to put the wife of the President of the United States in prison. I want the country to come together and to be unified. And here it is a few years later, and these people say, let's put him, why? Because I challenge an election? Because I want to challenge an election, or some other reason? It's a really disgraceful thing. It's a shame. And it's a very dangerous thing for both parties, because once they start that ball rolling, once they started rolling, that's a nasty ball. Yes, please. Please. Sure. I think that we've done very well. I think that we're hitting a nerve. I think this is a different kind of a race. All we have to do is define our opponent as being a communist or a socialist or somebody that's going to destroy our country. You know, I fought Nikki very hard. I beat her in her own state by legendary numbers. And I get along with her fine. I appreciate that she endorsed me and all of that. No, I think that... I think relatively to what they're doing and how radical they are and how, in many ways, how sick they are, I think I'm doing a very calm campaign. I mean, we're here. There's no shouting. Now, you'll say he ranted and raved, and not you, but some of you will say he ranted and raved. I didn't rant and rave. I'm a very calm person, believe it or not. If I wasn't, Probably wouldn't be around anymore, you know, probably wouldn't be around. But no, I think I appreciate her advice. I have to do it my way. You know, I ran against her, and I did it my way. People said I should maybe do it a different way, but I won in South Carolina by numbers that nobody's ever seen before. You know, it wasn't even close. And I think she's a good woman. I'd love to have her support. Yeah, she gave me support, but I'd love to have her go around and campaign. Well, not only responsible, they probably can't do it legally, and that will drive up prices. She wants no fracking. Now, she may go and change that. I think she's already changed it. But she wants to have no fracking. I want no fracking. But for her whole life, she said that, no fracking. Then about, I don't know when, a couple of months ago, all of a sudden when she started looking at polls, remember this, she all of a sudden says fracking. I don't think I won Pennsylvania, and I did much better the second time. I won it in 2016, did much better the second time. I know Pennsylvania very well. I don't think there's any way in hell that somebody that's intelligent living in Pennsylvania is going to vote for somebody that basically will eventually end fracking, end fossil fuel. So whether it's Oklahoma or Texas or Pennsylvania, it's a big energy state. People don't realize that 350,000 people work in that industry. But maybe more importantly, they don't want to pay $9 a gallon for gasoline. So, no, I think that she's made statements. I don't know how you get out of it. I don't know how you can say for 10 years there'll be no fracking. I mean, we have tapes of her laughing at the stupidity of the question. Of course I'm not going to allow fracking. And then all of a sudden, a few months ago, she comes out in favor of, oh, yes, I'd allow fracking. I don't think anybody in Pennsylvania will be, I think she's going to do very badly in Pennsylvania. You have to frack. We need the energy, and Pennsylvania needs the jobs, but Pennsylvania needs the energy also. That energy is going to support our new system for AI and all of the other modern things that need massive amounts of electricity and energy, massive. So it's a very good question, actually. But we have to unify as a country. We have to come together, and I think we can. You know, I get that question oftentimes, and I used to think maybe there's no way because, you know, some people want a border, some people don't want a border. Most people do want a border. But there's such a difference in people. But just before COVID coming out, so 3 years, we went a long period of time, and we had an economy going the likes of which no country had ever seen before. I think you would agree. There's never been anything like it. And people were coming together. People were calling me I would call them radical left. But I would say very liberal people, very progressive people. They came to me. We would like to get together. In fact, we worked out criminal justice reform. I was the only one that could have done that. I won criminal justice reform, and I got that for black leaders that came to see me. Criminal justice reform. Obama couldn't do it. Biden wouldn't even try. But nobody could do it. I got that done. And I got conservative votes to get it done. They needed at least 5 very conservative votes. It was very hard to do. I got that done. Our country was coming together. And, you know, I can tell you the story of criminal justice reform. When you do that, that means that's a big step. But I was seeing people that were not seeable, that I wouldn't want to see them and they wouldn't want to see me. And all of a sudden, I was having lunch with people that, if I told you who they were, you wouldn't even believe it. Our country was coming together. Success was bringing our country together. And it can be done. Success will bring our country together again. It can be done. It was an amazing phenomenon. And I used to say, I don't know, it's awfully tough to get it together. I've never seen anything like it. Like, for instance, me getting criminal justice reform done. And I did that with Democrats and some very conservative Republicans who said it's very unfair where people are staying in jail for 35, 40 years. And today they wouldn't even be charged with a crime for what they did. And we got it done, and I was very proud of it. But our country was coming together. The black population had the best numbers they've ever had on jobs, on income, on everything. The Hispanic population had the best numbers. Asian population, men, women, young people with diplomas from the best schools, Harvard, MIT, the Wharton School of Finance, they're all coming together, and everybody was happy. And young people without a high school diploma, the best MIT students and people without a diploma were all working. They were making more money than they've ever made. There wasn't one group that wasn't doing better than it was the year before, 2 years before, or 10 years before. It was the best our country had ever done, and we were leapfrogging China. China didn't have a chance. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs from China. Hundreds of billions of dollars. No president ever took in 10 cents. And what happened was an amazing thing. We had a great, successful country, and our country was unifying. It was the first time anyone's seen it, but our country was unifying. One or 2 points, yeah. And Fox News has always been my worst poll, believe it or not. And even Fox News had me up by 1 or 2 points yesterday. Came out, I think, 2 points, 1 point. I also think, I tend to poll low. In some cases, really low. In 2016, I was polling low because people didn't want to say who they're voting for. I don't know if that's supposed to be a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is. And we did very well in 2016, and we did much better in 2020, much better, but bad things happened. Through COVID, very bad things happened, so we're not happy about that. Yes, I've seen you around a little bit, so go ahead, please. Thank you very much. Well, I want to get along with China. I had a great relationship with President Xi. We made a fantastic trade deal, $50 billion of farm products and manufacturing products they had to buy here, and they were adhering to it. They don't adhere to it anymore because they don't respect Harris or Biden. But as you know, we signed a trade deal with China, and it was actually better than even the USMCA. It was a great trade deal. China had to buy $50 billion, not $15 billion, not anything else, $50 billion. And it was a great trade deal. I think that's one of the underrated things. I think we'll have a great relationship with China. I hope we're going to have a great relationship. But it's got to be a fair relationship. China was taking advantage of the country for years. But so was every other country, in all fairness to China. Every single country was taking advantage of the United States. I can't think of one country where we were doing better than them. Japan was taking, Abe was my dear friend, one of the great men, great leader. But all of these countries were, I used to say, who signs these agreements? It's amazing that we economically survived because we had such bad negotiators or people were getting paid off. I actually looked at some deals. I'd say nobody could be so stupid to sign a deal that's so one-sided. Whoever made this deal has been paid off. And then I'd look into it a little bit, and all of a sudden he's working as an agent for that country 3 years later, 5 years later. Now, we change a lot of those deals. South Korea, we changed the South Korea deal. We made it from a horrible deal to a good deal. I changed the Japan deal. But I made a great deal with China. They had to buy $50 billion worth. They never bought anything like that. In fact, it was a misunderstanding. When I said the people were negotiating, what number are we talking about? They said 15. I thought they said 50. So when they came back to me, they said, sir, we're all set to get it going. I said, good, what's the number? 15. I said, you told me 50. Why are we going down to 15? They said, no, we said 15. I said, you told me 50. Actually, I heard them wrong. They said 15, but I heard them wrong. So I said, go back and get 50. And we got 50 instead of 15. And it was great. I really think that we can have a great relationship with China. We can have a great relationship with a lot of countries that right now. One of the things with China, I know as much as any country, but all of the countries, the one thing is they have to respect you. If they don't respect you, and I was very tough in countries like Japan, and yet Abe, who was a great man, assassinated, horribly assassinated. He was a great man. He was a great leader. But I believe, and I was very tough on him. I was very tough on Russia. I was probably the toughest. I ended Nord Stream 2. I ended the biggest deal they've ever done, the biggest pipeline in the world, the biggest. All of Europe was going to be supplied by Russia, and I ended the deal. It was dead. And then Biden comes in and approves it. And they say, oh, I was nice to Russia. No, Putin actually said to me one time, you know, if you're supposed to be, like, friendly with me, I would hate like hell for you to be angry at me because you are brutal. Think of it. Not only that, the sanctions, but forget the sanctions. I ended Nord Stream 2. The pipeline was dead. And then Biden comes in, and he got $3.5 million, in all fairness, from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Remember that? During the debate, we brought it up, and Chris Wallace, who's not the father, he is not, there is no resemblance between him and Mike Wallace, that I can tell you. He said, you shouldn't be talking about that. I said, why not? They got the family, $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Why wouldn't I talk about that? He wouldn't let me talk. I said, I'm negotiating against two people, not one. I turned out to be right because a year later, that was a big scandal. Why did he get $3.5 million? But Biden approved immediately the pipeline in Russia, Nord Stream, and he killed the Keystone XL pipeline, 48,000 jobs. He killed it. He did the exact opposite of what he should have done. Yes, please. I know you had your hand up. Nice to see you. Yeah. Well, no, I want companies to get workers that are going to love them and work for a wage that lets the company make a profit so they can go and expand. In that case, they moved, as you know, they moved the company from California, Elon, from California to Texas because they were able to get things that California wouldn't give. And I did ask him one question. You're moving a very big company out of California that's been there for years into Texas. Did the governor ever call you and say, like, let's work it out because we don't want to lose you? And he said he never called. Governor Newsom, he never called. And you would have thought, if I were governor of California and if Elon or anybody else, they have oil companies leaving, I would be calling. But no, Elon wants to run an efficient company, and if he has to he got rid of a lot of people on X or former Twitter. A lot of people gone, and it still works. It still works. So you got to run the company productively, and there are going to be a lot of jobs around. I want it so that a person doesn't get lucky and find a job. I want a person that can look for 10 jobs, and all 10 companies want them, and you negotiate much more than you'd get by doing what you just suggested. So, you know, he's a strong man. He's a strong guy. He's a brilliant guy. And he wants to get the best he can, and he wants to get the best workers. He pays a lot of money to a lot of his workers. It's, to a certain extent, supply and demand. But ultimately, that's what's going to lead to a great country. So. Well, that's not, yeah, they weren't organizing against Elon. He let them go because he was having a lot of problems in California. They were making it impossible for him. In California, what they were doing with the taxes and everything were making it impossible for him. And Sean O'Brien's a great guy from the Teamsters you're talking, yeah. Sean is great. I think Sean would understand it better than anybody. Don't forget, the unions are really threatened by what's coming in, by these millions and millions of people coming in. Sean O'Brien understands that. The black population is absolutely threatened. The Hispanic population is absolutely threatened because these people are coming in. They're going to take their jobs. They're going to make it very, very hard. What's happened in our country is very dangerous, very bad thing. No, just the opposite. I wish I didn't have to do this. If our country were run by Democrats and it was run beautifully, where we were really being productive and everything else, I would have never done this. I wouldn't have done it if I thought I couldn't have won. I think I can win. I think I can win easily once they're exposed for what they are, which is, radical left lunatics, and that's what they are. They're going to ruin. She's going to ruin our country. Going to ruin our country. And I just hope the people of our country, and I believe they are because I see it already happening, but I hope they are able to think for themselves, because if they think for themselves, if they look at the destruction that's going to be caused by Kamala and this person from out of nowhere, he came out of nowhere, a state that I love that state, but a state that's doing so poorly, where he's the one that signed in tampons in boys' bathrooms. He signed a bill that boys' bathrooms, all boys' bathrooms in Minnesota will have tampons. And what's going on? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us as a country? So no, I would, if we had somebody doing a phenomenal job, I would be extremely happy. What I want to do is I want to see, even the last few months, I hope the country does really well, even though it would make it probably a little bit harder to win. I hope the country does really well. It's country first. I want our country to do great. If they were great leaders, I would be the first to say they're doing a fantastic job. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. What? Do I regret debating Biden? So it was his request. He said we should get the debates on early, and I was willing. Don't forget, I got CNN, I got Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. They're not Trump people. They wanted to have a debate where their mics are turned off when the other person's answering the question. They gave me every single thing that I couldn't approve, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. So they got the debate on their terms. They got the network that they dreamt of. But that was really his decision. I had to decide whether or not I felt I wanted to debate him. And I think they didn't want to debate, but I agreed to every single thing. It was a debate where they said, we'll give him something that it'll be impossible for him to accept, and I accepted all the terms, other than when they had us sitting down at a desk, and I said, I think that makes us look bad. I don't want to sit down. Let's stand up. And they agreed to that. Other than that, we gave them CNN, we gave them Dana, and we gave them Jake. And by the way, I have to say, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash were unbelievably straight and honest, and I give them a lot of credit for that. A lot of people were saying you couldn't have a fair debate. I think we have that with ABC. I have some people at ABC that don't like me too much. I find it to be about the worst. George Slobodopoulos. I have a lot of people at ABC that I find it to be actually the most unfair of all the networks, and they want to do it on ABC. Whatever, I don't mind. The question that you're asking, though, about whether or not the debate should have happened would have been a better question to ask of Joe Biden, because had he not done the debate, he would still be running for president and people would be hiding him, just like they're hiding her right now. You know they're hiding her no different than him, because I believe she's grossly incompetent, and I don't think that when people hear what she has to say, they're going to buy it. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. I know, I want them too. She's 100 years old. She wants my autograph. I think we should do it. What do you think? Where is it?
An incredible press conference. You talk about transparency and generosity of time. I was hoping to be able to get my question. I wanted to ask a bit about election interference with President Trump. He touched on it a bit when it came to the justice system. He didn't get into it as much with big tech, which is something I wanted to kind of get into a little bit because we saw that Kamala Harris's campaign actually did manipulate some stories on Google this week. And so I'm curious from President Trump what his plan is in order for us to help combat that kind of interference through the election from big tech. Lots of incredible questions answered today. He really got into a lot about the economy. Of course, he also talked about how he wants to unify the country. There was a really unifying message today. I felt like he really spent a lot of time talking about how much he loves this country and he just wants to make it better. And a lot of the things that are said about him or done to him have made him feel justified in his purpose. And I think that's exceptional. And we're so grateful for the time that he gave us. He's actually signing an autograph right now. He's still talking to some people over on the other side. He's got some fans and some friends over in the corner, as well as, of course, the press, which happened to be, I would say, a pretty friendly press today for the most part. I'm so happy that I was able to be here for RSBN. He's coming over, I believe. If he walks over, I'll step away so you can see him. But in the meantime, I just want to remind everybody about Birch Gold. Please make sure that in these crazy times you find ways to find security. And right now, finding peace through security is going to help you when you talk about gold and silver. Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings and a hedge against inflation. So important. All of our friends at Birch Gold Group are there to help you with your own physical gold. And actually, you can not only secure your family's savings by texting Trump to 989898, but you can also, just for the month of August, make sure that you get one of the free Trump silver coins. They're brand new, one of a kind, and they depict President Trump on July 13th when he put his hand up in the air and said to fight, fight, fight. So secure your savings today. Get your free silver Trump coins and just text Trump to 989898. Once again, that's Trump to 989898. We'll take a look and see. I think some people are trying to get some questions in over there. Let's see. He's got a little crowd over there. A group of people over in the corner. And by the way, beautiful night here in New Jersey. We're at Bedminster. You can see there's a lot of mosquitoes and flies out. I love how delicately he handled that, and also I love how delicately and kindly, really, he handled the press. Tonight was a perfect example of what President Trump is capable of when it comes to peace through strength. You saw that strength. You saw that peace. You saw a unifying message. And yes, he's going to be himself. He's always going to speak his truth and talk as himself. And he's feisty and he's excited when he speaks about certain topics. And listen, he said when he was asked about being nice, you know, how he can handle things when people are saying, you know, maybe you should be nicer. And he said, look, they're not being nice to me. I have to kind of defend myself. I sometimes have to speak about what I see. And I tried. Right? I tried to do the best I could. I didn't put Hillary in jail when she got caught with a lot of criminal activity. I didn't think that was the right thing to do. He said that from back when he was elected in 2016. And even to this day, he's trying so hard to just battle for the country and fight, fight, fight. And every now and then, you know, you get punched enough, you have to speak up and you have to defend yourself. He's not able to do that with the court case in New York with Judge Merchan putting a gag order on him, but he is able to defend himself in other areas. And tonight, I think what he did so brilliantly and eloquently was he spoke to the policies of Kamala Harris and the policies of President Trump. And what he did was he showed you a stark contrast between the two, allowing for the public to make those informed decisions that are so necessary and to be able to recognize what a President Trump administration would be versus continuing on for another 4 years, as we have been. Kamala Harris, of course, is the vice president now, but with Tim Walz as her vice president and her being president, we can expect to see much of the same as we've been seeing. And I think he laid that out beautifully tonight. And if you haven't been paying attention, this was a wonderful press conference to go back and watch. Make sure also that you listen up to this, because the world is getting more unpredictable by the day. You heard it all tonight. We've got assassination attempts, as we saw. We've got rumors of civil war, an unstable stock market. And, of course, we've got the looming threat even of bird flu right now. It's unbelievable. Did you know that there's actually a bird flu summit that's coming in October? It's actually reminiscent of the event 201 that foreshadowed the COVID pandemic. And so get this, the first topic on the agenda, listen to this, mass fatality management planning. Does that not send chills down your spine? It does for me. Here's the good news. You don't have to be scared, right? If you are prepared, the Wellness Company has created the Contagion Emergency Kit, so you don't have to be afraid. They're packed with life-saving meds like ivermectin, I never can say it. Hydroxychloroquine and antibiotics like a Z-Pack, but it's all backed by the fabulous Dr. Peter McCullough. You know, he was censored a lot during the whole COVID pandemic, and you know, he has such brilliant and smart, intellectual, professional opinions that are so important to be heard. Imagine this: no more frantic searches